Hadrat, expression of honor and respect. Hadrat Abdulehad is one of the great Awliya, those loved by Allahu Taala. Of India, his name is Hadrat Abdulehad bin Zeynelabidin. He is from the lineage of Hadrat Omar, radi-Allahu Taala an, may Allahu Taala be pleased with him. He was born in Hijri, year 927, Miladi year 1520. He passed away in Hijri year 1007, Miladi year 1598, in the city known as Serhend Sharif, Honorable, in India. His blessed grave is outside the city in the northern side. He is the father of the blessed leader of the Awliya, and unique one of his time, Hadrat Imam Rabbani. Hadrat Abdulehad, at a young age, attended the ilm, Islamic knowledge gatherings, and suhbah, companionship of a prophet or wali, singular for Awliya, talking about their blessed lives or reading their books. Of Hadrat Abdul Qudus, a great alim, Islamic scholar of India, and attained spiritual ranks in tasawwuf, purifying the heart, spiritual development. When he expressed his desire to stay permanently in his service and companionship, Hadrat Abdul Qudus told him, "First learn the necessary knowledge about din, religion. Swim in the sea of ilm like a fish, go from one shore to the other, then come back to us. Rely on wilaya, state of being a wali. For awliya, without ilm, is like a meal with too little salt." After hearing these words, Hadrat Abdulehad thought that his teacher Hadrat Abdul Qudus was old and might pass away before he could return, and he might not see him again. So he said, "I fear that later I may not find this dear and high suhbah again." Upon this he said, "If you cannot find me, continue in the suhbah of my son Rukneddin, and seek what you are looking for in him." In accordance with the saying, "Let me have sabr, patience, and see what his great karam, kindness, shows," he left to acquire zahiri, outward religious knowledge. Before he could complete his education, his teacher Hadrat Abdul Qudus passed away. After completing his education, he went to Sheikh, title for respected elder head of religious teachings, Hadrat Rukneddin, as directed by his late Khoja, Islamic teacher. Following his father's guidance, Sheikh Rukneddin showed great tawajuh, focus attention on a person for the passing on of knowledge, to Hadrat Abdulehad, and trained him in tasawwuf. He gave him ijaza, diploma testifying to the holder's authority on ELM, in the Qadiriyya and Chishtiya tariqas, ways to orders of tasawwuf. Hadrat Abdulehad also continued in the suhbah of Sheikh Hadrat Jalal Tehaniseri, one of the foremost students of his Khoja Hadrat Abdul Qudus. While in his gathering, he met and conversed with Hadrat Sheikh Kamal, the greatest alim of the Qadiri tariqa at that time. These meetings continued for years, and he gained many benefits from them. His acquaintance and meeting with Hadrat Sheikh Kamal happened during one of Sheikh Hadrat Jalal Tehaniseri suhbas. One day Hadrat Sheikh Kamal came to the suhbah of Sheikh Hadrat Jalal Tehaniseri. When Hadrat Abdulehad saw the exalted halls, spiritual states of Hadrat Sheikh Kamal, he wished to meet and befriend him. After the suhbah, he went outside and spoke with him. Hadrat Sheikh Kamal said to him, "My name is Kamal. I live in Pale. My home is there. If you wish to understand the secret of our suhbah, please come there and let us converse." Pale was a town connected to the city of Sirhind, about 20 to 25 kilometers away. Hadrat Sheikh Kamal was a student of Sheikh's Hadrat Fudail, who was from the Silsile Aliyeh, chain of blessed Awliya, Ahl as-Sunnah alims, that conveyed the true path of Ahl as-Sunnah from the time of our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, invocation, wishing peace be upon a prophet or an archangel, of the tariqah of Hadrat Abdul Qadir Gailani. He was a person with high halls in tasawwuf. Lost in the halls of tasawwuf, he would wander in desolate places and deserts. When he needed water, food, sleep, or conversation, a city would suddenly appear in those barren and deserted deserts. The people there would show respect and honor to Hadrat Sheikh Kamal, bringing him what he desired without him asking and offering feasts. Hadrat Sheikh Kamal would eat from their food, drink their water, and stay with them for the night. As the morning light began to appear, that city and the people would disappear from sight, and he would be alone in the desert again. Hadrat Imam Rabbani narrated that his father, Hadrat Abdulehad, spoke about his Khojah Hadrat Sheikh Kamal as follows. When Hadrat Sheikh wanted to explain the subtle matters of tasawwuf, he would speak according to the level of ilm of the listeners, explaining in a way that they could understand the secrets. Hadrat Imam Rabbani also said about Hadrat Sheikh Kamal, "When my vision was opened through kashaf, unveiling of divine mysteries, after Gauz, spiritual leader that passes on spiritual knowledge, Thaqalain, 2 treasures, Quran al-Karim, and Ahl al-Bayt, family of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. Hadrat Abdul Qadir Gailani, I saw very few like Hadrat Sheikh Kamal among the greats of the Qadir Tariqah. When Hadrat Abdulehad came to Serhend Sharif, he went from there to the town of Pail, where Hadrat Sheikh Kamal resided. There he had suhbah with Hadrat Sheikh Kamal, and affection and friendship grew between them. Hadrat Sheikh Kamal also came with his family from Pail to Serhend Sharif, stayed for days and held suhbah with Hadrat Abdulehad. Hadrat Abdulehad obtained countless benefits from the suhbah of Hadrat Sheikh Kamal and witnessed astonishing halls and karama, supernatural wonders of Walis. Hadrat Sheikh Kamal passed away in Hijri, year 981, Miladi year 1573, at the age of 80, and was buried in the town of Kichtel near Serhend. During his travels to progress in ilm and marifa, knowledge and acknowledgement of Allahû Taala, Hadrat Abdulehad attended the suhbas of many possessors of ilm and marifa. Then he returned to his homeland and stayed in Sirhind until his death. His life was spent in benefiting people. He would spend the nights in ibadah and devotion, crying and shedding tears for rida, Allahu Ta'ala's approval. He had many students and admirers. Due to his tawazu, being humble, having humility, being modest, for the sake of Allahu Ta'ala, he never saw himself as being different from anyone and did not accept anyone serving him. Most of the time, he would carry the needs of his household from the market himself and would not allow anyone else to carry them. He spent his life with such deep attachment to Rasul Akram, the messenger of Allahu Taala, Sallallahu alayhi wasalam, Salatu Salam, invoking that Allahu Taala grant all kinds of goodness and superiority on Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, that he would never abandon even one sunnah, things which Allahu Ta'ala does not clearly command, but which are acts our Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam praised, or which he habitually did, or which he did not prohibit, though seeing them done. He would perform the acts of ibadah and salat, ritual prayers that were sunnah, and he would also observe, with care, the principle in tasawwuf that requires acting upon the most virtuous of amal, deeds. During the day, he would teach the students who wished to learn ilm from him. He would explain and clarify in detail even the most lengthy and difficult books on the subject. He was a unique alim in every field of ilm, especially in fiqh, Islamic law based on teachings of Quran al-Karim and Hadith al-Sharifs, and usul, methodology or fundamentals of an Islamic science, documented teachings of Iman. The alims and great figures of the time accepted him as their teacher and master and benefited greatly. It has been narrated that Hadrat Abdulehad would clearly explain the fine subtleties and the deep meanings of the famous book of Usul Pezdevi. Hadrat Abdulehad had combined the knowledge he acquired through reading and studying with the spiritual knowledge he acquired. Hadrat Imam Rabbani said, "My father and Khoja, the cause of my life and happiness, paid great attention to wudu, ritual ablution, cleanliness and salat. He observed adab, Islamic etiquette, good manners, with great care. I learned these by observing my father. It is not easy to learn every adab with all its subtleties from books." Hadrat Abdulehad said in his healing suhbas, "Hamdu Thana, gratitude with respect and reverence, to Allahû Teâlâ who created us from nothing. Hamdu Thana to Allahû Teâlâ who brought us into the world not in the lands of the kafirs, unbelievers, but in such a Muslim country. Hamdu Thana to Allahû Teâlâ who made us born from Muslim parents. Hamdu Thana to him for making us in the ummah of our Prophet, the Sultan of both worlds, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Hamdu Thana to him for letting us know those he loves. Allahû Teâlâ accepts every ibadah and amal that is done with ikhlas, sincerity, for his rida in this world. He does not accept those done for show or to please people. Therefore, all our acts of ibadah, all our amal, all our behaviors must be with ikhlas. My blessed Khoja says, in Qiyamah, Day of Judgment, everything except the ibadah done for the rida of Allahû Teâlâ will be left out of the record. None other will be accepted. That is why one should do fewer amal, but with ikhlas, that is those amal done for the ridha of Allahû Teâlâ. The most important thing is the ridha of Allahû Teâlâ. How beautifully has Allahû Teâlâ created the universe. Everything is under his command. There is nothing else to say but so be it. Every moment, every second, every instant we are in need of the existence of Allahû Teâlâ. Can such an Allah ever be abandoned? Salat is performed for Allahû Teâlâ. Food is eaten for Allahû Teâlâ. Marriage is for Allahû Teâlâ. To conform to Islam is for Allahû Teâlâ. To speak is for Allahû Teâlâ. And to listen is also for Allahû Teâlâ. If even a bit of this world mixes into these, it is like mixing najasa, religiously impure substances which Islam prescribes as unclean, into zamzam, blessed water from a well in Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. Love of the world is lasha, carrion. Islam, ibadah, is like zamzam, like musk. This purity, this zamzam, this beauty must not be tainted with filth. As long as we speak from ourselves, as long as we exist in ourselves, this zamzam cannot be drunk. We must recognize our enemy well. Our greatest enemy is our own nafs, a force in people that commands and dominates their desires, wishes and appetite, and is enemious to Allahû Teâlâ. Let us not search outside. The enemy is not outside. There is such a traitor, such an accursed one inside us, that it always wants to make us say, I am the best. May Allahû Teâlâ protect us. One should always read Quran al-Karim in the morning, and then read some fiqh, Islamic law based on teachings Quran al-Karim and Hadith al-Sharifs. for it becomes daily sustenance. When Hadrat Osman Zinurain, radi-Allahu Taala an, passed by the graveyard, he wept bitterly, and his blessed tears flowed from his beard. He said, "This grave is enough as a lesson for a person. How can one wait in that dark, narrow soil until Qiyamah? Is this not enough as a lesson?" A story of this blessed person. Hadrat Abdulehad traveled to many lands to obtain both Zahiri, overt, and Batini, internal ilm. He did not stay long in one place, always moving on. Thus he visited many cities and towns. He also stayed for a while in Scandere, one of the famous towns of India, to spread ilm. Nur, radiance, was shining on his face, and signs of marifa were gleaming on his forehead. One day, a salih, pious woman from the noble families of Scandere, with her foresight, realized that Hadrat Abdulehad was a blessed and valuable person and sent him a message. "I have a younger sister whom I raised on my lap. She is a gem of chastity and purity. I would like to marry her to you. I hope you will accept my proposal." At first Hadrat Abdulehad did not say yes. He apologized. Then he made dua, supplicate, pray, to Allahû Teâlâ, asking him to grant what is khair, best, in this matter. Afterwards he accepted to marry that girl and was wed to her. Then he remained in Scandere for a while. From this marriage, made with sincere intention and for the rida of Allahû Teâlâ, a great person like Imam Rabbani was born. In the supas he gave to his students, Hadrat Abdulehad would say, "Our great ones have said, Achibtu liman talebet dunya vel mevtu yatlubuhu. I am astonished at the one who pursues the world while death pursues them. Man is very heedless. Death exists. There is no escape. At the very moment one says, I've reached it, death seizes them. One must have AQL, wisdom. A person with AQL is one who remembers death. A person with AQL is one who prepares for death and what comes after. The world is but an illusion. The world has an end. The end is definite. The time is unknown. The world is not worth grieving over nor rejoicing in. In the end, everything is zero. Be it a boss or a rich person, all will lie flat on the funeral slab, to be prayed over as a simple man. We are all travelers, travelers to Akhira, hereafter. In Akhira, everyone will regret. Regret in Akhira is disaster. Let us prefer the regret that occurs in this world, which leads to felicity. Our great ones used to put stones in their mouths to avoid speaking unnecessarily, to avoid sinful speech. On the seal of Imam Azam was written the hadith, "Speak good or remain silent." Allahû Teâlâ is Rahim, very merciful. He forgives those who disbelieve in him and oppose him for 70 or 80 years with just one act of Iman, belief in Islam. His Rahim is beyond our comprehension. It is infinite and abundant. The amal that pleases Allahû Teâlâ most in this world, after Iman, is to do good to his Qul, living creatures that worship, humans, malaks and jinns, and make them happy. The amal Allahû Teâlâ is most angered by, after kufr, unbelief, is to break a heart. The most important thing to be said is this: we have believed, Alhamdulillah, thanks and praise to Allahû Teâlâ. Our belief is correct, and we must not behave harshly. We must be careful not to fall into actions that may incur ghadab, Allahû Teâlâ's wrath. The grief of one person may cause the destruction of 1,000. Therefore we must not break hearts, must not offend anyone, must not look down on anyone. The person you speak to may be a beloved Qul of Allahû Teâlâ. Haq Ta'ala, Allahû Teâlâ, may be pleased with that person. Therefore, rather than breaking that person's heart, one should try to seek their dua, whoever they may be. Because Haqq Ta'ala has hidden his friends, he has concealed them. Even they do not know themselves. Awliya means the friends of Allahu Taala. To be Awliya, one must absolutely have the belief of al-as-sunnah, itiqad, creed of belief which is required in order to have correct iman, must love and obey those greatly beloved by Allahu Taala. One must strive greatly for the spread of the religion of Islam, and must work so that people are not condemned to Jahannam, hell. It is of course necessary to strive for the reading of books written by the Alims of al-as-sunnah. An accounting from Hadrat Abdulehad. One day, one of his sincere companions entered the room of Hadrat Abdulehad. As soon as he entered, he saw Hadrat Abdulehad lying on the floor, with his limbs severed off. The person who entered thought this must have been the work of either a thief or an enemy. Then, frightened and crying, he ran out in great sorrow. He told someone else about the situation. Immediately the two of them entered the room together. And what did they see? Hadrat Abdulehad was sitting comfortably and firmly in a state of muraqabah, awareness. They collapsed at his feet in tears. He told them, "As long as I am alive, do not tell anyone this secret." When they asked him the reason for this hal, he said, "It was such a thing that I cannot find words to describe it." Hadrat Imam Rabbani also narrated the following. Hadrat Abdulehad had longed to meet Hadrat Muhammad Baqi Billah, one of the famous Awliya and the Khojah of his son, Imam Rabbani. However, he passed away before they could meet. Hadrat Imam Rabbani narrated this. After my father's death, I presented his great longing to Hadrat Muhammad Baqi Billah. He said, "We too would have liked to meet him. Had we gone to Serhend, we could have learned from him." When I recalled that my father used to say, "The love of all al-Bayt, family of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam, has a great impact on Iman and a good ending, that is, dying with Iman at the last breath," I asked him this at his moment of death. He said, "Praise and thanks be to Allahu Taala. I am full of that love and affection. I am swimming in a sea of nimets, blessings. May Allahu Taala grant us all the shafa, intercession, of these great ones. Ameen."